One thing people respect about your platform is that you promote Black businesses and group economics. Why is that so important to you guys' platform?
Well, the reason why it's so important is because we can't survive in America if we don't have a good financial base. There's a gentleman named Dr. Claude Anderson, and he had a very important, extremely important lecture that he did years ago called Inappropriate Behavior. And to sum it up, it was about group economics and how we as a group, we need to be able to bounce the dollar in our community at least 15, 20 times before it leaves, if that makes sense. And it's basically we're paying each other and we're supporting each other.
Exactly.
And if any community that has their dollar flying out of their community to somebody else, that's a recipe for disaster, pun intended recipe. However, that's why it's very important to us, because a lot of people will look at some of our young men and some of our young ladies, and people try to talk about our youth and say our youth are, I don't really like this little term YNs. I'm not really feeling that.
Me neither.
Because, you know, these young people are a powerful group and a fearless group.
Exactly.
They just need the proper guidance. And they need to be able to listen to their elders, and the elders need to stop being in an arrogant position talking down to these young people. Because if these young people aren't doing what we deem is correct, as I was always taught, if your kids are janky, look at the parents. So we got to look at the previous generation and where we went wrong, if this generation is going down the wrong path. And I said all of that to say this. From a group economic standpoint, I want to be able to have my daughters to have a pool of young men that look like me to be able to have a husband, if that makes sense. Have a pool of, and the boys have a pool of young ladies that look like them to choose from. So none of this excuse that, you know, there ain't enough Black men or Black women in the community. That's BS. So that's why I say, from an economic standpoint, when we build up those relationships from an economic standpoint and we can build that community, then that way we can see more entrepreneurship. More entrepreneurship leads to more jobs. And that way then we can sustain ourselves in a much better place. Because, you know, hey, even our hustlers out there in the street, they're entrepreneurs.
Most definitely.
You see, they have business skills, but we have to give them an opportunity to do something where they're not putting their lives on the line.
And showcasing in a better way.
Absolutely. And just something just very, very, I found very interesting. I used to do a radio talk show years ago.
Most definitely.
And I interviewed a gentleman that wrote a book. Remember I told you guys about authors? Wrote a book. He was talking about his time being incarcerated. And he said one of the most profound things that I ever had heard on my show. He had said, I justified my bad behavior because I said I had to feed my family. And then he said this, after I was incarcerated, they never missed a meal. If that, you see where he was going with that? And I just want to see our young people have a chance. And I just want to see our young people in a position to uplift the community, because there are no old warriors. You got old advisors. I want to see these young warriors pave the way and lead us to the promised land.
Well, y'all done helped a lot of restaurants get exposure. Have you seen any restaurants get packed after y'all left?
Yeah, just the other day. To keep it a buck.
What restaurant was that?
It was A&B Jerk Factory. AB Jerk Factory.
What is it?
It's a Caribbean restaurant over on like 82nd in Exchange. 82nd in Exchange. Yeah.
82nd Exchange?
82nd in Exchange. They haven't been around that long. And one of our followers told us, hey, it's packed up in this piece. So, and when that happens, that makes us feel good, you know, because, you know, we like to have an effective platform. And I just hope that the restaurateurs, you know, give the customers the same service that you gave us.
Exactly.
You know, don't treat us like royalty and then slang some old half cooked, half BS out to them.
Yeah, after the,
So it's really all about consistency. But no, we get there frequently when restaurants do well after we do our showcase.
Yeah, that's good stuff.